Roger, Roger. Welcome to the Brushes and Blasters podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Brushes and Blasters, episode 2 this time. I'm once again here with Matthijs.
Hi, welcome. And I'm here with Frank.
Of course, one and only.
The one and only.
So, Matthijs, as always, have you been hobbying last week or
Yes.
the last few weeks?
Yes, I've been here. So first I'm going to show you the ARC Troopers I had built last time.
Yeah,
So now I've painted them.
absolutely. Yeah, you weren't finished last time, right? So,
No, I just set them in the primer.
Mhm.
So now they are completely painted.
Yeah.
They're such fun models to paint.
Still no jetpacks though.
Still no jetpacks.
Not in the game at least.
Still, I'm going to build and paint them with jetpacks because the jetpacks looks cool.
Yeah, they look great, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, you know, the unique red color scheme really pops them, makes them stand out. So that's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah. I also love the bases with like the ruins and you know, the jungle, more like jungle theme, overgrown like ruins theme. Very cool.
Yeah, so I'm now doing all my bases for my different armies roughly in the same type theme, like greenish, jungly, something like that. So they all are a little bit different, but I can mix and match them. So if you have like certain characters that can fit with my clone army and with my rebel army, I can easily fit them in both armies.
Mercenaries as well, right?
Yeah, so I'm also thinking with when the Mandalorians are coming out, they will probably have some green and brown colorish bases, so I can still put those mercenaries in my other armies or in the Shadow Collective or the whatever. So they all sort of fit a little bit together. Is the idea.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I've also started on the Luke and Han on Ton, but they are of course hot themed. Like they have all these hot gear on, and my army is this jungle themed. So it always looks a little bit weird if they walk around in these fur coats and stuff like that. So I converted both of them to be without their hot gear. So I had an extra Luke model because you get one in the starter box and you get one in the heroes box. Yeah. And I bought both of them, so I had the Luke model double. So I cut off the top part of the model, put the top part on top of the legs, and still use one of the armlet holding the reins of the Tauntaun, and the rest I could use from the original Luke model.
Yeah, exactly, because the top part of this model is from the new Commander Luke model, right? From the
exactly.
box. Yeah.
And then only his left arm is still from the hot model. Yeah. I just needed to use a knife to cut away a little bit the lines of the glove, so you hopefully don't see you wearing a glove. It is slightly bigger, the gloved hand, than the one without, but I think if I paint it, you probably don't see it. Yeah. And also, of course, his trousers do have like these wraps and stuff like that, but probably with the paint job it will be fine, I think.
And so what happened here? I see I see a Han Solo with a fully green stuffed head bit on here.
Yeah. So Han Solo was a little bit a bigger challenge because I didn't want to buy a whole Heroes box for just the Han Solo head and a Han Solo body. So I had to improvise a little bit. So I used a body from the Commandos. Yeah. But that didn't fit at all on top of this model. So I had to cut away some pieces of the cloak, and I'm resculpting that with green stuff again because I want to make him look a little bit like he looks in the Return of the Jedi. The way I painted him for my army as well with the greenish cloak and stuff like that. So I want to do this as well. But then the head was a big problem, so I made a mold of the original model and remolded the heads. And this one, I'm very curious how it will turn out after I painted it, because I'm not 100% sure it's going to work or not, because it is a delicate thing, like the features and stuff of the model. It's hard to mold it, so we're going to give it a try.
Okay, but you did mold it. So you did not use like the blue stuff or the mold?
You have the blue stuff, this Instamold or blue stuff, whatever it's called. You can heat it up, and then I put it around the head of the Han Solo model, let it and it hardens out in 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And it becomes like this plasticky material. You can pull it off and then fill the mold up with green stuff again. Let that hard out for a night, and then you get this.
Yeah.
I've used it more often, but usually I use it as a sort of let's say a 2D mold, so like a one-sided mold. So only, for example, the front of a chest plate, for example, and then you only like have to mold on one side. But this, you have to mold all the way around because you need the side of the head, the back of that, the front of the head. So that was a little bit more difficult and a little bit more try. I feel like his left side is missing a little bit of hair, so I'm probably gonna sculpt a little bit of hair by hand there, and then hopefully it will work as on solo. So I'm hoping this will turn out well, and if not, then we will see how we're gonna fix it. How I can get my hands on a Han Solo head. Worst case scenario, they have to buy a whole Heroes box for one head.
I mean, there's a new kit coming with a new model as well, right? So
yeah, and that one will probably be cheaper.
Yeah.
And maybe even if he comes, fingers crossed, with 2 heads, then I could put his head on later on.
Could be possible. Yeah. It's a good tip for anybody looking for like sculpting, or like a good hobby tip is using the. Yeah, I only know it as like, I think I know it as blue stuff, but. Yeah, you call it, I think Instamold is a different wording for it. So
yeah, it used to be called Instamold.
Yeah.
And I think the company went under or something like that. And now Green Stuff World sells it as blue stuff. But it's almost the same thing. I feel like the Instamold product was slightly nicer to work with. It was not blue, it was a little bit softer or something. But yeah, it's not a big difference, I think.
Yeah, but it's a good tool for anybody to have in their hobby arsenal. I don't use it that often or at all, I have to be honest, but that's mostly because, as you already know, and people from now on also will know, I am super anti-green stuff, not because it's a horrible product or anything. I just don't like the whole sculpting process and all that stuff, so I try to avoid it. But the good thing, or the cool thing about it, where I have used it for in the past is, I remember when I was working on desert bases in the past, I had these bits like snakes and all stuff like that. And instead of buying this thing 20 times for basically only 2 units, was a little bit tedious or also expensive if you would do it that way. So this is a perfect tool for things like this. If you want to copy a certain head, a certain bit, that's not too complicated or anything. Helmets or something like that could be a very good example for the use of it, right? Yeah,
on that Mandalorian army I made before the Shadow Collective was announced, or even we knew it existed, I built my own Mandalorians, and I made molds of all the Clan Ren chests, pieces, and the arm weapons and stuff like that, and put it on the shore troopers and stuff to make them sort of Mandalorians. And for that kind of stuff, it works very, very well. With these small bits, and you can replicate them a bunch of times, it works. Works great.
And maybe a little bit off track here, but since we're talking about green stuff as well, I've heard a rumor which also got confirmed by one of our suppliers from the store where we work. Is no longer in production. Did you hear something like this as well?
Yeah, I honestly have not experienced any problems yet with getting my hands on green stuff so far.
Because I had a phone call with our supplier for it, and I asked him as well, like, I heard this rumor, do you know if anything about this is true? And he said, yeah, that's absolutely correct. He said the factory is pretty much, I don't know, broken or closed or whatever, and they're no longer producing green stuff. So
okay, so everybody now stop watching, run towards your local shop, buy as much green stuff as you can, stock up.
I have to say that I 100% believe him. I'm not saying that, but I like you said as well, I am not noticing anything about this yet. Like there's nothing like, there's not a crazy run on this or anything, but maybe a small heads up in the hobby world for people who didn't hear it. Supposedly it's out of production or something. Yeah,
but it would be weird if there's only one place in the entire world making that stuff.
And even then, if that would be the case, I can only imagine some other company or something would, take it over and start. Like I don't know. I'm not too familiar, or I don't know any, like I don't know a whole lot about this or what's happening. It's what I've heard, but supposedly it is true.
Yeah, I heard rumors as well, but I never really.
We'll have to wait and see, I guess. But yeah, just to know that, in the worst case, just so people know, is that if it might run out, it might not be there anymore. Yeah. But some good replacements for it, though, could be, I heard a lot of people being positive about the Milliput. I don't know if you've used that.
Yeah, that's a product, I've tried it a couple of times. It's not for me.
Okay.
The problem is with, I think it works well for basing and stuff, but it becomes like this, how do you call this in English? Like a little bit like stone.
It's like almost like a chalky.
Yeah, chalky. That's the right word, I think. Yeah. Chalky finish.
All right.
And so it also, when it dries out, it behaves a little bit chalky. So it crumbles a little bit, and if it pulls up, so it has an advantage because of the chalkiness, you can file it better because it's a harder material. It's not rubbery like green stuff, but.
Okay.
Yeah, but some people, they love it and they only work with that stuff. And for me, I find it difficult because everything gets this chalky layer over your fingers, on your table. Over there's this chalky layer where it touches, because you use water on your tools and stuff like that, and it also everywhere leaves this chalky substance behind, and that I didn't like because I'm working with green stuff and then I'm picking my model and a bit and a dry fit, and then everything is like this chalky layer. On top of it, that's something I don't like.
Yeah.
But
and what about? I haven't tried it at all, but I know there's different colors as well. You have like a black version, I think a white version, and a red version. Did you try like the different ones, or?
Yeah, I've used the brown stuff for for cloaks. Also for that Mandalorian project. And that one has this, I think, metal flakes or something in there as well. So it's very hard and sturdy, so it can support its own weight a little bit better. And it's therefore you can more easily make hard lines and stuff like that.
Right.
So for something like a cloak that needs to be thin and flat, it works a little bit better. But again, I'm not the greatest sculptor out there if go too deep into it, but there's so many different products out there, and if it's true and you won't be able to get any green stuff, there are so many products that it will probably be fine to find something as an alternative.
True.
I imagine.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens there. Yeah.
And what have you done except for researching the history of green stuff these last few weeks?
Yeah. I've also been working on clones.
Yeah.
More clones. After the Pike project, I just wanted to return back to Republic. Once again, they're one of my favorite armies in the game to play. Yeah. Even though, again, I'm a separatist by heart, but somehow
the lure of
the Republic stole my heart, and now I'm painting clones. Now, I don't know. I think. Because with my droids, right, I really paint them in like the canon Star Wars way. So the clone army for me is the army in Legion where I get a little bit off the rails, right, where I can do something more, I don't know, like more funky than just the, droid with like skeleton horde, sandy colors or original colors. Yeah. And some of those units are also fun, but I don't know, this always feels a little bit more cool, and I also really love this color scheme. So I did show one of them in the previous episode really quickly, but to get a little bit more in depth, this is the Ahsoka Legion. Yeah. So it's if I'm correct, the 332nd company, something like that, which is very shortly. They showed very shortly in the animated series of Clone Wars in the last season.
So they're so cool looking, yeah.
But yeah, the whole like lore. Ahsoka is one of, if not the most favorite character to me. So when I started my clone army, it was kind of obvious what I wanted to do with them.
Yeah.
But I've been working specifically on the Marksman, which is a unit that's not been out for very long yet. Yeah, and it's a new unit that I think is interesting in the game. I decided to paint 2 squads, or start painting 2 squads on them. As you can see, they're definitely not finished yet. So in the early progress or process of the painting. But I thought this was interesting to bring them along for today's topic later as well, which is today we're going to talk about painting white armor. So I thought I could, since I'm still working on them, I could show the steps of the progress to the finished results. So yeah.
Is this the original pose of the unit leader? Or did you,
No, this is not actually.
Yeah, because it's really cool and clear to be the leader.
Yeah. So my my number one thing that I always want to do with my models is at least try to make different squad leaders. Once again, I'm not a fan of sculpting, green stuffing things, so I have to look for things that are easy or easier to swap out. So although it is very similar to the other models, from all the other, like the standard sergeant pose, it still looks different enough because I'm not sure. I think this pistol is, from I'm not 100% sure, but it could be from some clone kit, or it could be a pistol from one of the Mandalorians, which I'm not 100% sure. So it could be,
It looks like an arc.
It could also be an arc, It could be an arc. It could
but they have a rocket thingy.
Yeah, I can't remember, but it's either one of those two, because I have a bitbox, one which is specifically for separatist units, and one that's basically Republic, and I know some some of the Mandalorian, the super commando from the Shadow Collective Mandalorians as well. And I know a lot of these pistols from those factions are also, they translate really well to the clone army. I remember my clone commandos. I will see if I can make a picture for for the video as well for that. I know I've used some of the pistols in there from the Mandalorians as well. So
nice. It's a cool pose.
Thanks. Yeah,
nice.
So that's mostly what I've been working on. Not like a lot of different others. So mostly the marksman. That's what I'm working on right now to finish up for the next event I'm participating in May. Which I will probably run them. We don't know, because we have a point change coming in, so it might change a little bit. But
we have to see next week.
I still expect to play them even by then. So
nice. All right, cool.
All right. So what's also maybe cool to talk about real quick is since the last episode, there has been a few new releases.
Came out.
Some that we already knew for quite a while they're coming out, but still cool to maybe review them a little bit. We got our hands on them. We saw the boxes in the store, and we could take a look at. And maybe cool to talk really quickly about them as well.
Yeah, cool.
So we had the first of something we got. We had 2 new battle forces.
Yeah.
One which was for Empire, and one which was for Rebels.
The Rebel veteran.
And what's really cool about these boxes is that a lot of, well, not all of them, but some of the models in these boxes are new sculpts. Or at least new hard plastic kits. So more soft plastics out of the door, more new hard plastics in it, which is a good thing, because the new hard plastics from Legion are very cool, very nice. So better to have more of that. And they both have a limited edition figure, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. So I bought the Empire one. For the Empire project I'm working on. So the new units in there are the probe droids and the snowtroopers. They're just cool. The snowtroopers, they're just solid resculpts. They are roughly similar to the original ones, but only in nice hard plastic, sharp details. Nice, fine, love it. And that's actually, I thought I wanted to have 2 or 3 units of snowtroopers probably in my army, and I wanted to have the probe droids. So then you buy this box and you have some extra stormtroopers and a Vader for free. So I thought, no brainer, buy this box.
These boxes are really well priced, right?
They are not as cheap as the starter boxes, but still, like I said, if you wanted the new units, it's that for that price you have an extra unit of stormtroopers or an extra box of stormtroopers and a Vader. And what is really fun about that Vader was a surprise to me, is there are 2 different cloaks in there and 2 different set of arms, so you can make 2 different poses out of it. And that was quite a surprise for me.
which is also was also a surprise to me. Even looking at the picture right now, I see a model that is different than the one that I saw when they revealed it, I think.
Yeah.
So that was also a surprise. I know you also showed me that sprue, by the way, which you also told me like, whoa, what's all these like bits? This is only one Vader model, right? What's all these bits? So it's really nice that they did that. I think it's always cool to have multiple poses and options for, especially for characters as well. Snowtroopers, like you said, I was surprised that it was a new kit. Not surprised that they needed to do that, but because when I first looked at the picture real quickly, I just thought it were the original ones because they are, like you said, very similar pose, which and there's everything. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I thought their poses were fine, but yeah, I was happy to hear that they are also hard plastic right now instead of the soft plastic. Snowtroopers. I mean, not much to say about that. They're snowtroopers. They do the job right at looking like snowtroopers. They're good models. Stormtroopers. We've seen those before. What about the Probioids? Do you like those?
Yeah, they're fun models. They have the plastic flying stands. I don't really enjoy those, but
do they still have the horrible ones? Is there like any improvements on it?
The curved ones.
So it's still like no like clicking points or
no. Yeah, I haven't completely looked at the connection point, but I think it connects somewhere in the center. So I think it should be fine probably. But I personally prefer like if they do like a smoke trail or like a piece of terrain where it sort of clicks together. So. But I fixed that myself, so I don't worry.
And as a quick hobby tip as well, what do you do with flight stands when you have to like prime your models? Do you tend to glue them afterwards? You like prime the models first, or because what I last few times I remember what I've been doing with flight stands is just assemble, gluing, and taping.
Yeah, you can use like a painter's tape. You have. Airbrush putty, that's reusable putty. You can that you can shape around it, and then you can prime, and then you can take the putty off and just put it back and reuse it over again. That's also definitely fine. Or you can even spray it black and leave it black if you want to. It's also an option. Or otherwise you have to prime your model separately from your flight stand and then attach it. Yeah, it's I think just a preference.
I guess so. That's kind of like the how I would first think of doing it. But I don't know, it's just something with gluing, primed, or anything with paint on it, gluing afterwards is just horrible for me. So. But okay, the other Battle Force box, which I'm grabbing the picture real quick, which is the Rebel one, which is Echo-based Defenders, right? So hot themed, same as Blizzard Force for Empire, which is I think also a cool thing that they are having like the same sort of theme armies against each other. This one also has a few new models, not all of them. I think some of them are returning ones and some of them are new ones.
Yeah, only C-3PO and R2-D2 are returning models. The rest are all new hard plastic sculpts.
Yeah, okay, so that's way more than I thought it would be. Yeah. But again, that's I guess it's also a good thing that they are able to, some of the older sculpts were cool already, so it's nice to see them just returning. Yeah. But okay, so C-3PO and R2-D2 the only returning ones. Yeah. Nothing wrong with those. They're the famous droids as we know them.
Yeah, and love them.
And we love them. We're not looking for them though.
Not the droids we're looking for.
We have the new veteran models. I've seen these actually in real life also when playing against one of my friends.
Yeah, nice.
They are pretty cool sculpts as well. The Tauntaun, what's kind of hard to say. I think these are all just solid good sculpts. They're just very similar to the old ones. There's like nothing to me. I don't know if there's like any AB options for these kits. I don't know if you have seen that already, if like the Tauntauns have like different small
I haven't bought this kit, but if I see the pictures, the Tauntauns, the original Tauntauns are a little bit thick, chunky. Because of the soft plastic, there are these awkward patches with leftover plastic and stuff, which is all horrible. And of course in hard plastic, that's always gone. So I think the Tauntauns are definitely a big improvement. The veterans, again, I haven't bought them myself because I already have a bazillion veterans and everything. But it looks like they are just like the Snowtroopers, close to the original models, just better and sharper and stuff. And do you know that the Leia model, I think that just has this pose. It has no extra options or.
I don't know either because I haven't, I don't know anyone who bought this Battle Force. So I haven't seen the Leia model in real life. I have to say though that the pose that I do see on the box, I really think it's a beautiful model.
Yeah, definitely.
I think this might be so far the coolest Leia model that is out right now.
I did like the one we got a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that was good. And I mean, the first one, that was easy to beat. So, the first one wasn't really that good.
No,
the second one, there's nothing wrong with that one. But I do think this one is even cooler. So, very iconic costume, right? And very iconic pose. So, I think this is a really cool model. Yeah. So, if you are a hardcore Rebel veteran and a hardcore Rebel player, this might be worth checking out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So then we have something else in the Battle Forces. Let me grab the next one, which is also a really cool release, even for an army that I don't play, but I think Empire players are very happy. It's the Imperial High Command set.
Yeah.
Which I think is something a lot of Empire players have been waiting for, because these are some very, very iconic characters in there, and they all are either new sculpt or completely new character. I think
three new
Krennic, three new, right? Krennic is the only returning one, which I think also got an upgrade as well.
Definitely, it's way cooler. Although I must say the old one, it was like for the striding forward pose, was fine. But
it was definitely. I don't know. This one is just even a little bit more characterful, I'd say. So, but point of this being is all of these models look great. So well done there. There's 3 new characters. Let's start off real quick with the first one, which is I think also maybe one of the most popular ones in the recent years, which is Thrawn.
Definitely Thrawn.
Yeah. Very loved character in the Star Wars fan base.
Definitely.
Very powerful unit in the game as well. I've heard. I haven't played that, but awesome pose, right? So like awesome model, awesome sculpt. Yeah.
The only thing I have with this box is it is a little bit of 4 old guys doing this.
Yeah,
they're all like, and of course, it's hard to do something else, but they are sort of dudes standing there. I don't know what they could have done differently, but it is. For me personally, one of the least exciting releases this year.
Yeah.
Not that the sculpts are bad or low quality or anything. It's just
they're very static
they're
models.
Just standing there, standing around there. They are well sculpted and everything, all fine. But it's for me personally, if I look at the Mandalorian box that's coming, for example, you have these guys jumping and big. The sculpts are more exciting. Or the new Jedi box that's coming, they're all like leaping and stuff like that. And of course, it would be weird if you had Tarkin doing a backflip on the sculpt. That wouldn't make any sense. So this makes all total sense. But that's just one of the things to say. This looks fine, cool.
Exactly. They're definitely very static models. I do feel like that fits in perfectly with the Empire aesthetic. And I mean, I guess the armies that we both tend to love, we got a little bit spoiled with very dynamic, hardcore, characters.
So,
but it's fine. Absolutely. Tarkin, really cool. The other guy, I always forget his name. I don't know. Tech. Okay. Tech. Yeah. I honestly also don't remember where he's from, but
I think he is. Yeah, he's one of those. Yeah, he is like I think 2 minutes of screen time somewhere, but it's one of the officers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any really cool new release for Empire. I think Empire players will absolutely get a lot of bang for their buck from this.
And cool gaming wise, of course, just cool to have completely different characters.
Absolutely.
Support characters. That's great.
I don't know if there's a lot of reposting a bit of
Krennic has like the little heads or without the little heads.
Okay.
And I think that are the only 2 options in there. Again, fine with this. It's fine.
Another really exciting release, but for the Rebels, which I think will be one of the most popular kits probably in Rebels. Maybe this year, or at least for a while. I think a lot of, I think pretty much every Rebel player I know have already got this.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, we're talking about Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, but not just Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. We're talking about Han Solo and Luke Skywalker on Tauntauns.
Yeah, now we already talked, of course, a little bit about them before with the hobby, what would we be doing.
Yeah, but now you got your hands on them, and we've seen them here, right? So now we get a little bit, because I always say, you know, about these as well, you can never really judge models and the kits unless you see them in real time. So, but yeah, not much else to say, I guess, from last time. I think it's really cool models, right?
Yeah, I love them. It's just that the winter outfits didn't fit with my army, so I changed that. My Rebel veterans, for example, when those came out, I gave them head swaps with these sort of tulband-like thing of them to make them look like they're a little bit more into rough weather conditions or something like that, just to make them fit a little bit with the theme of the army, because I always like to have my entire army fitting together, so I have a hard time to make like a couple of guys on snow bases and a couple of guys on desert bases, a couple of jungle bases, and then mix them all together in one army. That I have a hard time doing that. So I always like to make them all fit together in theme. But the sculpts, they are amazing, and definitely I've been tempting more than once to redo my entire Rebel army for a hot themed army, because it does look so cool.
Yeah, I know that if I am going to ever start a Rebel army, which most likely will not happen, honestly, but that absolutely I would 100% go with a hot theme as well, because there's just so many cool units that you can, you know, like the Tauntauns and even like the veterans, that there's just so much cool stuff to go with a hot theme as well. Nice. Cool release.
Awesome stuff.
More of this, please.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we have one more release.
More of this, please.
Yeah. We have a new release for a relatively smaller, maybe less popular faction in the game, which is, I guess they go with the name Mercenaries now, because first it always was just Shadow Collective, basically, almost. And now we have Mercenaries, you know, this is not a Shadow Collective release or anything. Which is the Weequay Pirates.
Yes.
A new, almost a new faction, I would say, almost to the game, but also just a mercenary unit for all the factions.
All factions, and what makes it a very interesting release, of course.
Yeah, exactly. With that being said, though, me being positive about everything else before this, I am not very thrilled with these guys.
I'm so curious to hear what is your problem with these miniatures, because I personally really enjoy them.
Yeah. I don't know. It's, let's just always start to people listening or watching our podcast is that everything we say, I'm not like hating or anything, and it's like a personal like preference, I guess, for the look of models. But I don't know. I got this box in our store this week.
Yeah.
And when I unboxed like and checked the box, and I had a good look at the picture of these models, I don't know. They just don't do it for me. I guess. For me, one of the biggest, I don't want to say frustration, but I get turn-offs, I guess, or something, is they look, which makes sense, I know, but they look extremely cartoony to me.
Because they are based on the cartoons.
They are based on the cartoons, I know, but hear me out here, because we did have multiple characters from the animated show. A good example, I think, is the B2, which is not just from the animated show. But if you look at the B2 from the Clone Wars animated show and the real life movie, I'm just gonna say I'm super happy that they went with the more realistic, version. Ahsoka, I think, is a very good example. Because Ahsoka originally, also have the live action right now, but the models that we have are definitely based on the cartoons and the animated shows, I would say. The Ahsoka model, for example, doesn't have the same effect like these guys on me when I look at them.
And just for me, what is the thing about these models you make feel so cartoony? Is
they feel a little bit more flat.
Yeah.
If I have to go into more detail like that, I don't know. If I look at them, I don't know. There's not a lot. It just feels a little bit more flat. I don't know. There's not like a lot of details and that's how. I also have to repeat myself here. What I said about these models as well. I haven't seen. No, but I haven't had them in my hand yet. So it's always different when you see a model in.
In
real
person,
life, right? In person, yeah. Because I know there's been different models that had it as well. So I guess I have to wait for a real judgment when I see that. I don't know. Maybe, and also one other thing that really bugs me about this is that a lot of these models look like copies of each other.
They have some really outspoken poses, and the repeated poses are very recognizable. That's definitely true.
And I mean, I know pretty sure that someone like you who will get your hands on this and, with your conversion skills and that you will probably make a very cool, dynamic, different army of this. But for me, somebody who, again, tends to like to avoid things using green stuff and all that stuff, I don't know. I'm also not too sold on the Weequay Pirates as a faction or something. But I don't know. It's I've seen the models in the box. They're not the most exciting to me.
But I can say everybody who's watching, if you get this box, the best thing that helps with the repeatable poses is start out with swapping your heavy weapons with random other guys in the squad. Usually the arms will roughly fit well, and with some extra plastic glue you can usually melt the molds very well. If you swap those around, then you're already halfway there with the repeatable poses, because if you have every time the same dude with electro staff standing the same way, you will very quickly spot it. But if you just flip those around once, you're already halfway there. And on a different note, have you had the Hondo model yourself?
I do not. But if I have to say that if I look at the Hondo models compared to the other ones, I'm not as bothered by that one. So that one looks way better for me.
Awesome model,
but I agree. The Hondo model looks great. I think that sculpt's awesome. But I don't know, it's mostly the other like regular guys in your squad who. I don't know. I can't. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. It's not for me. But also to be positive about this as well is they do look like the Weekways, right? So they're definitely recognizable. I really love that AMG has been more than FFG did. Been releasing models like that, like more weird factions and stuff like that as well. So I really love that. So things like this also give me hopes that we will definitely see Night Sisters. We will definitely see stuff like that.
Tusken Raiders.
Tusken Raiders, exactly. Yeah. But on a more positive note, I'm happy they keep experimenting with these types of models, that they are making them. It's personally not for me. But who knows? Maybe at one day I see them in real life, or I'll try to make an army of Weekways myself. And then I'm all, it changed my mind. I don't know. For now, I will leave them on the shelf for all you other people excited about the Weequay Pirates. But I think that's the new releases, right?
From this last
few months or anything. So keep it up, AMG. We always love to have new Legion stuff and content. So let's move on to our main topic, I think, for today.
So we went for painting white armor. It's a tough thing that almost everybody who's playing the Star Wars Legion miniature games will get to, is how to paint that white armor. And I see so many people priming black and then try to get it white with white paint, and you have 5 or 6 thick layers of white, and I see it like, oh, you're making it yourself so difficult, because there are such quick and easy ways to paint white. So I thought maybe it's interesting to do a couple of examples on how to paint white.
Absolutely.
And maybe we start out with the most easy ways to paint it towards the more difficult ways to paint it. So I would say the most easy way to paint white is not prime your models black, but prime your models white, and then take a speed paint or a contrast paint or whatever brand you use with black and just fill in the undersuit and the gun. Now you have an example here because it's one of the first steps of your way of painting white. But if you would paint your model like this, you do the base, it probably looks better than when you prime it black, try to repaint the white and everything, then this will probably already look better, and it will take you about 2 minutes to paint your model. Which is also nice because then you can paint your entire army in a weekend and it looks pretty fine.
Exactly, you know, it's with every model pretty much, but maybe with white and also like black, because I have to say everything that we will probably say about white kind of also is the same for if you do pure black armor. They are very difficult colors to paint. But we have a lot of tools these days and a lot of tricks that will make it a lot easier. The most important thing for you know, and especially with these two colors and in white is, you know, what is the end goal, right? So if you want to paint a white armored, you know, character or clone trooper, you will definitely make it yourself harder when you do paint it in black. And I've seen this happen a lot of times. And let me also say that there's not necessarily something wrong. It's definitely doable, and but yeah, I just personally don't know why you would do it, because it's just more work. And the end result is so close towards this. There is one exception, at least in my opinion, when that's not the case, and that is if you do something like a zenithal highlight, right? So I can imagine spraying like something black and then use a zenithal as white.
I have some examples for that later on. But first, maybe I want to show these. Because this is what a lot of people also do, and I've tried it once and I don't really like it. Some people say if you want to paint white, prime your model white and then apply a white contrast paint or speed paint, and they call it white, but it's actually a very light gray. I don't know if you ever tried painting your white like that, because I personally hate it.
It's kind of interesting because I think, but this is weird to say, I have to double check, but I think, and I'm pretty sure that I used a white contrast on my Padme model. But there's more to it, than just putting contrast on there. But yeah, this is a thing you have. You have white speed paints, white contrast paints, and it's a super weird color or method, right? Because it's, I don't know, a white, at least to me, white contrast and speed paints. I'll just call them contrast paints for now. That's how I like to call them.
I always say speed paints because I usually prefer speed paints over contrast paints.
Whenever I say contrast, we mean basically both things. It's almost a shade, right? It's not, because any other contrast color, like a red, it's basically, okay, it's red and it gives shading. Whereas the white one is almost pure shading. So I'm not a biggest fan of it. I have to say I don't 100% remember what I used for my Padme, but I do remember that what I was going for that. I think it was a white contrast. But what I did was I used it very cautiously and selectively, so not, you know, very, very lightly, to create some very gentle like shading. And after that, I used highlights to bring some of the parts back again. So I do not like the approach for just spraying something white and use only like a white contrast. I personally also don't think that works. I mean, it works, right? I mean, I don't want to have people who did that to their clothes say, oh, your models are now bad looking. But what happens with the contrast paints a lot of times is that they get very stainy, right? It's not definitely like a smooth finish. And I do think there's way more easier methods to get a very smooth white like finish on the armor, and that is not achieved by using the contrast versions of it. So when would I use the contrasts, white contrast paints? I don't use them very often, if at all, almost. But if I would use them, it's mostly for like a certain tone that they have, right? But I almost I almost think of it as like a shade. So I mean, it could also be a blue shade. If I thin down a blue shade, for example, that's almost the same kind of effect that I would do with the, an apothecary white or any like white speed or contrast paint. It depends on like what the tone of the color is, and I think the apothecary one is a little bit like a grayish tone,
a blue grayish,
like a blue grayish tone,
a very light blue
which
gray.
I think that's what I wanted to achieve for Padme, but I will go on that a little bit depth later why I use that instead of the other methods that I do. But I agree, it's not, I'd say it's not the cleanest result that you can get. If you want a more cleaner result, I would not use just like a white spray and a contrast, no.
Because speed paints and contrast paints are currently my go-to technique.
Absolutely,
like, apply a speed paint, a contrast paint, let it dry, and then layer on top of it and highlight, and I love it, but white is the only color out there I just don't really like that effect. What I like better, and you already started talking about, is this technique. This is one of the demo set I painted for, and these are the scouts. For the shop, these are done with a zenithal highlight, and I think if you want to paint your models quickly and make them look very, very good, I would advise use this method. I used 3 colors of primer. So I had a medium or dark gray primer, a very light gray primer, and a white primer. And what I do is I lay all the models down on their backs, prime them with the dark gray, let it dry, turn them over, apply another layer. This way you make sure that you hit everywhere on the underneath your model as well, because it's very important that the underside of your model is very well covered. Then you put your model down on their bases on your spray tray, leave some space in between the models because I need to be able to hit them on all sides with my spray can. Then I spray at a 45-degree angle with my light gray, once from the front, once from the side, once from the back, once from the other side, and then very lightly with white, a little bit over the top. And now you have a white armor with a gradient from gray to white from bottom to top. And I think, it takes you a couple of minutes. Of course, there's drying time, but the actually working with spray takes you for your entire army maybe half an hour. And then you just have to do the contrast paint again on the black, and maybe if they have the shoulder pads or something like that on top of that, and your army looks very, very cool. Yeah. And this is now, I think, one of my favorite way to paint white very, very quickly. To make it a little bit more interesting, because the problem is with most armies, pure white, it's a little bit dull, so I like a little bit battle worn. So I use a little sponge with some dark brown and carefully dab some brown paint with the sponge randomly on your model. I usually focus a little bit at the bottom part of their legs, because that would get dirty and damage fast, and the front of the model, and a little bit less from the back of the model, because that's where naturally the damage would occur more. And it takes you another couple of minutes for your entire army, but I think it makes it just a little bit more interesting, and then you can paint them so quickly. I think I've painted this demo set in one working day in the shop, so I also have to run the shop, help customers and stuff like that, and paint the models in one working day. So this is effectively maybe 5 or 6 hours of actual painting done for the entire set, including the bases. Yeah, and it looks really, really, really cool. Yeah, it is definitely very tabletop ready. Yeah, you're probably not gonna win any prizes for the painting, but it's super, super quick. Yeah, and I think above average. Tabletop level. And even then, maybe not in this stage it will like win you best painted prizes, but you can definitely take this a step further if you wanted to and add some highlights. And then honestly, I think it will look very like like sharp and good, and it might be able to
participate in like best painted prize as well. Yeah.
So I've got these painted for Shatterpoint. These I did give a little bit of a highlight, and of course I also went for the Ahsoka color scheme because I think it's the most interesting color scheme for clones out there. And then it's just really cool. And of course here I cheated a little because this is done with an airbrush, and I did an underspray of some red for the glow on the model. So it's a little bit extra work, but if you look through that part with the underglow, it's just like a little edge highlight with white on top as well, just to make it a little bit sharper.
It's the same concept, right?
Yeah. And these I also did with. So this one I did with the airbrush. And this one I did with again with spray cans, and also gave it a little bit of a highlight and some markings on top of the dudes with red, because it's for my red clone army, and I wanted sort of an inverted idea because they're commandos. They need to be a little bit different. So I gave these a little bit of extra work with some red markings, and I highlighted that, and some highlights on the white and stuff. And yeah, it's a little bit more work than the Stormtrooper ones I did, but I think then you just have some really, really cool looking
absolutely
dudes very quickly. Yeah.
So we both actually had quite a journey painting white. I know because we've been into Star Wars Legion for pretty much since the release.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know we have been through a lot of different stages of painting white. Yeah. So it's interesting to talk a little bit about them, because this is one of the more easiest and quickest results that we have, and looks really cool. Yeah. But there's also some other ones that you can use as well. One of the first ones that I ever used when Legion came out and I painted Stormtroopers, and I have to give a credit a little bit to a friend of mine, Mark, which originally kind of came up with this idea, and I stole it from him because it worked really well. Is working with thin down shades and washes. Because I remember he had a X-Wing ship that he was repainting, and it was like a very also like a very bright and white ship. And we were like, oh man, we need to, all these panels, they need to have like shading and stuff like that. But the problem with shades on pure white is that they're kind of too much, right? It's the same, almost the same as using the Apothecary white, but even worse. So if you have like, I want to shade my white prime model with Agris Earth shade, like a brown shade or anything, it will just look like a mess if you just apply it like that. So he tried to combine it with medium, which is basically like a paint without color, right? So
it's the watery substance of your paint.
Exactly, and you use that to thin down shades. And the reason why that also works better than water, I cannot explain the science behind it, but what I always tend to have when I thin down my shades or even contrast with water is it will just look very messy.
So the idea behind this is you have pigment parts, and they naturally will cluster together in water and a medium as a mix of chemicals is probably not the right word, but materials to make sure those particles stay divided over your mix equally, and therefore you don't get any of the coffee staining. Basically.
And that's I've heard very good painters tell me like, I always use water in the pen. I mean, they have great looking models. So it technically it can work, but for me it never worked. So when we found out that you could use the medium, and we tried that, and it just looked very smooth. Like you basically didn't have to repaint any flat patterns back to white. If you want to, you can, but you immediately have this shading in all the recesses, and your model immediately it just looked really good. I will try. I think I can. I don't have this army any longer from my Stormtroopers, but I'm pretty sure I can still find a picture of it, so I will show that in the video as well. But it's a very simple and effective way of painting it. That's how I used to do it. It was very quick as well. But I have changed my approach since then a little bit right now, with a new way that I actually originally got from you, which is a paint from AK, right? Specific, I think, from AK, which is the streaking grime paint.
Yeah.
Which is now, at this moment, my favorite way of painting white
I can imagine.
marble.
Yeah.
So, for people who never used this or heard of this, streaking grime is an enamel paint, right?
Yeah.
That's how you say it. It's like an oil-based paint that is used for basically weathering effects. So to make things look very like grim, dirty, or weathered. But there's a trick you can use with this stuff that it will still look a little bit weathered, but also not as terrible as when you apply it. But, I have my clones that I used where I use this on, so I will also show the picture for this. But basically, what you do is you paint your clones. You know, you spray paint them white. So this is basically step 1. So just a pure white primer. Then I apply all the black under the bits and stuff, and I will do the orange and the blue details. Everything that I do is that's first, and then there's one very crucial step before we go to the next one,
definitely.
Which is after I've done all that things, I varnish my models.
Yeah.
Because after these steps, we apply the oil paint, so the streaking grime. But if you don't varnish your models, because it's a different, it's oil-based, not acrylic paints, it can chip your paints, and especially contrast paints.
Yeah, definitely contrast paints. Yeah.
Because the contrast paints are a little bit more fragile than other acrylic paints. So before you apply this stuff, you definitely want to varnish your models first. And one of the other reasons because of that is because when you apply the streaking grime, it looks like a mess, right? If you just put it on there, it's like your white model is now like a very gray or brownish. Like it depends on what tone you choose.
Entirely one color.
Yeah, if you apply this, you will be, and if you don't get any other instructions, you'll be like, why did you ruin my model, right? That's what you'd say.
Frank, I want my money back.
Yeah, exactly. But after this, you can do one or two things. So the first thing is you can use like cotton earbuds, like the Q-tips, to wipe off all the excess, or you can use a brush with white spirit to clean it.
Yeah.
I first used to do with the Q-tips, which works perfectly fine. It's good, but for me the annoying thing was they like get bigger, and they leave the hairs.
There's the fibers.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of annoying. You also cannot reach everything as well as with like a brush. Yeah. But you can also use a brush if you use like a dedicated like a pot or like a canister that you have the white spirit in, and use it to wipe that off. And that's kind of the new thing that I do right now. I saw somebody do that in a video, and I thought that was a little bit easier, and I don't know, it maybe works a little bit quicker for me as well.
Yeah, nice.
But it does use a little bit more white spirit compared to the...
I'm gonna give that a try as well, because I've never done it like that.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see, because I do really like the sharpness or something of your shading, which is very nice. So I'm definitely gonna give that a try in the future as well. Yeah. And what I also like about this technique, you can shade your other colors as well in one go. So you shade everything in one go, just to make things nice and quickly done. It's a really fun technique. And which streaking grime, because there are multiple streaking grimes out there with different names, which one do you use on your models? Yeah,
so I use the, I have to say that even the name on the ball is every time different, but I think the generic name of it would be, it is the streaking grime for African Corps vehicles, I think. Or it's like the deck, something like that. But it's like on the label on the bottle and in the painting rack, it's a little bit different.
And also on the top of the lid, it says, I think, because duck or
it says something like that, like
it stands for somewhat African Corps. I still understand it. I don't know what the D stands for, but you can probably let us know.
If you go for like African Corps, streaking grime, that should be the one. I also, in the video, I will do a picture of it as well.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then you of course also have, there's even more, but I think the two most used ones is probably that one, and of course just the streaking grime. There's just one that's just called streaking grime, which is more of a brownish one.
Yeah, this one is this one is done with the normal streaking grime. It's like a slightly green brownish finish, a little bit more greenish brown finish, and the African Corps is a slightly more grayish.
Yeah, like grayish, dusty. And that's the reason why, because I know when you showed me this technique. I got this technique from you, and you used the streaking grime, the regular one, which I already thought was cool. But I also remember we were talking about it, and I was like, I don't know, not yet. And you gave me the bottle of the African Corpse, and you said, okay, try this one, maybe that will help. And that's the one I kind of like fell in love with for painting my white armor thing. I don't know, it just looks a little bit more dusty, which I like, and also it could also be the process of my cleaning, but the other streaking grime is a little bit more dirtier, which is not a bad thing, as in it's a little bit more, if you want more weathered, then that is definitely the one to go with. If you want a little bit, I guess, a little bit more cleaner, but still kind of like dusty and kind of, grimy or a little bit dusty, then I would say go with the grayish one, so the African Corpse one, because that's the one I really like as well. And then of course after that, not everything, but some colors, after I'm done with that, I still highlight them a little bit. Not a lot of times, but sometimes if some colors are really too dark, I know for me it's a lot of time it's the blues. So just to give you a comparison, if you look at this one, I did not do it on this one, and I did do it on Rex. It helps to kind of bring back that blue a little bit. But I usually what I do with the grime is it's the final step pretty much in the process. So I make sure that everything is colored and highlighted, and then I use that. And of course, don't forget to varnish them as well, because you will definitely chip away your paint if you don't varnish them.
And just to be clear, use a spray varnish, not a varnish out of a pot with a brush. I gave that a try as well, but that doesn't work. You need to have the Redo can varnish. And the glossy one works best, but that's a little bit harder to find because a lot of companies don't make gloss varnish anymore. And if you cannot find gloss, then I would advise to use satin varnish, but not matte varnish. Matte varnish that doesn't work so well. So I would always go for satin or gloss. And if you use gloss, the only drawback is your model becomes more glossy, but the area you apply the streaking grimes over is smoother, so you can easily more easily brush it off and stuff. But at the end, you probably need to do or want to do a satin or a matte varnish by spray can afterwards to get all the glow out of your model. So it gives you another extra step. But with satin varnish, you can just apply satin varnish because you don't see it before or after the varnish, but it has a smooth enough surface area for the streaking grime to polish off. So
and for me, I use I think it's a satin varnish as well. I use the Citadel one, the monitoring varnish. That one works really well if you don't want to use any shine at all, because I'm kind of allergic for like using shiny glosses. So if you have that as well, I can definitely use
that. Is a satin. So the Gaze Versa one is a satin varnish. And not a matte.
But that's the one I use. So if people want to copy that, then that's the one. That's the one I use. It works perfectly fine.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's how I do my white armor painting mostly.
So that's I think the most interesting ones we want to talk about. And there's one final option. It's maybe a little bit of a cop-out, but something I think it's underutilized a lot is just don't paint white. You can easily, for example, I once went for red troopers because even all this technique, it is just not the most exciting color to paint, and people can get burnouts over it. And you are allowed to paint them in different colors. It's pretty cool to come up with something weird and different, and people do really enjoy it. They say, hey, this is cool. Purple stormtroopers. I've never seen purple stormtroopers. This is cool. And of course, you can if you want to really stick to the lore, because I don't think there are clone troopers in this color combination out there officially. Exactly. But if you want to be a little bit more lore accurate, if you delve in a little bit, there are stormtroopers in black armor and in red armor out there, like the Sith troopers, or how you call them, one in the red ones, and you have the Galactic Marines, I think, have this red purpley. So there are out there lore accurate other colors, but you just don't see them that often. But it is a good way to just circumvent the problem and just go for another color. And who knows if you like it, you might enjoy painting a different color. And if you want to join in with painting competitions and stuff like that, you do have an edge because people don't expect it straight away and are surprised by it, and that always helps getting people interested for your armies as well. So definitely a valid way is just not painting it actually white. So it sounds a little bit like a cop-out answer, but it is actually with a serious undertone. It is a very valid option to just do a different color.
Yeah, and even then, I've said this before last time as well, is if you really want to go for the white effect look, use off-white colors, because that makes it much easier as well. And this is a very good example of that, because, or even these models as well, I will also make a picture of this, but when you see the prime model versus the finished model, if I play my clones on table, everybody will be like, oh, like it's, white armored clones and with these details. But when I tell people, well, this is the prime model and this is the finished model, then you see there's absolutely no like perfect white color anymore. So I always tell people, like, it's easier to paint like white, color themed armies by using off colors, because, black and white are like the absolute like maximums that you have. So if you will just use this, which is absolutely, if you want that, it will still on the table look fine, but it is super flat, right? So there's no, and I cannot highlight this or change this, because this is the end of, like, right? This is the final highlight color.
You cannot highlight pure white with even super pure white.
Yeah. So that really helps as well. Making things weathered makes it easier as well. So, and I do want to say one more thing, because I think there's one more technique of painting white, which I've also used in the past. But I have to say it is not the easiest one probably, which is recess shading. I've done this on. I also done this on Space Marines, so it's a different game. So basically, what that is you use a shade, but you selectively yourself put it just in the recesses. I personally don't like this technique. I have to say it looks really good, because I've used this. So again, I use this on a Space Marines for a while, and it looks very very tight and very crisp, and it's it does look really good, but it's very tedious work.
Yeah, and if you make a mistake, you hit someone outside of the line, you have to clean it up. It's very finicky.
It's very tedious work, and I also have to say that I also think that Legion models, it might sound weird, but Legion models also are not the easiest ones to use recess shading.
Yeah, because they don't have the really all the lines. Like for the Space Marines, they have these lines in there. Tight lines in their armor.
They're way more exaggerated in the lines, which Legion is a little bit less of that, so it's a bit harder to use it for that as well. But it is definitely another option that you can use or you can look into, because it's a technique that you can also use for different things than white. But that's also another way that you can paint white as well.
And again, the advantage of this way of painting, the weathered look, is if then you make a mistake and you hit something outside, you can just weather over it a little bit, and you don't care. It's a little bit of the battle damage there, and you don't have to reapply your base coats again and go back one step and everything. No, you just do some battle damage there, done. And that's also something I really, really like. It's like a very forgiving way of painting, which is just really relaxing, because I don't have to be very tight with all the lines. And even if before you're applying the grime, if the blue on your shoulder pad hits a little bit of the armor, you probably don't see it after the streaking grime anymore. It sort of blends everything together. So it's a very nice and very forgiving way of painting. And it's funny because you're sort of painting inverted. So instead of applying highlights, you're sort of removing paint instead of applying paint. So it's sort of a weird way of painting, because you paint in reverse, but it's a very rewarding way of painting. And also, we haven't talked about this, is the grimes, the oil-based paints, have a very long dry time. Yeah. So they take a couple of hours to completely harden out. That means that you can paint, and then after half an hour, I missed a little bit of there, you can just take a little bit of white spirit and wash away a little bit more, and you have a working time of a couple of hours.
Yeah.
The drawback, of course, if you want to apply highlights on top of this paint, you have to leave it to dry for like a night or so, and then the next day you do your highlights. But
absolutely, that's one thing to note about the streaking grimes. What I always just let them dry for the whole night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is so I sort of like plan when I do this. It's always for me. It's like, okay, this is gonna be the final thing of the day, right? Because then I will have to leave them till to like tomorrow or the other day. So yeah, it is a very longer process, but it's very rewarding. Yeah, and I mean the cleaning. You do that earlier, of course. Maybe that's also still worth noting. When you have put on the grime, I leave them for like 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I clean off all the excess stuff. But once that's done, the drying after that, it takes quite a few hours. So you definitely want to leave them overnight or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Was there anything else maybe you still wanted to talk about?
No, I think this covers, the main things about painting white, and I really hope people get some inspiration out of it, or maybe try out a different technique. It's also because, especially the streaking grime, we focus a little bit more maybe on that technique, because it's not a very familiar technique, and I noticed that in the Legion community, it's not a commonly used thing, these oil paints, but they're really, really fun to try out. It always feels a little bit daunting to go to a different material, different type of painting, but honestly, the investment is very small. A pot of streaking grime will cost you a couple of bucks.
Yeah, like 3 or 4. It's like in Europe, it's like 3 or 4 euros.
So it's probably in dollars, probably around the same amount. And the same goes for a pot of thinner. It's roughly around the same price. So for a couple of bucks, you are good to go to try this technique out. And I think you can really enjoy it if you want to speed up a little bit more your painting work and give a little bit more the weathered look. It also works very, very well on vehicles. I use it on my AA5 speeder trucks. You have these big flat panels. Just apply a couple of drops of this streaking grime and wipe them off downwards. Then you get this like the rain dirt that drips down on your model. It's very cool and super simple to apply, and makes the big flat areas way more interesting. Yeah, you can do a lot of with this stuff. I also remember that after I used this on my clones, I did almost my whole droid army with the streaking grimes as well. Yeah. Just because I love the look of it, and it's good stuff to try out. Yeah. So I guess the summary for painting white, try out like oils, shades, grimes, but play around with the amounts that you put on there. Like you can make things thinner, or you can wipe things away. So it's the final color is basically the first thing that you do, and then like you said, you remove paint instead of adding stuff to it. So but I think that is our our biggest takeaways or tips on painting white. Yeah. So definitely thank you guys for, of course, listening again. We would appreciate it, as always, if you subscribe and like our channel. But also, put a comment, let us know what you would like to hear about, or, what we could discuss inside the next episode. And we will be happy to take a look at that. Yeah, so next time we're probably going to talk about basing your army. Yeah. About different techniques of basing and what our ideas are behind basing. We got a couple of questions from people who wanted to hear about that. So I think it's a very cool subject. So if you have tips, tricks, things you like, let us know, put it down in the comments. If you have different ways of painting white, I'm very curious to hear those as well. Maybe we can get some inspiration from you as well. Please let us know. And again, thank you for watching. Thank you. See you next time.